Okay, and maybe moving beyond the pandemic, the design challenges, the data center, reference the digital sort of demand anyway. It's, I guess there's more and more different types of workloads, disruptive technologies. So the challenges around designing a data center for an application or a new piece of kit that you don't even know about, flexibility, sort of scalability, how would you characterize, is that not a major challenge because a box is a box and you can do what you want inside it? Or are there things that are impact on data center design for that sort of
well, I mean,
work?
Good question. I guess there's who builds data centers? Co-location operators, hyperscale cloud service providers, they build them for themselves. Enterprises, well, we're seeing less of that, of course, as they outsource to colo and they outsource to to cloud platforms. If you're a hyperscale provider, I think they have foresight of their IT platform. They have foresight of the technology and the innovation that they're going to be rolling out throughout their IT platform to support the cloud services. So for them, I think they can predict and they can design their data centers accordingly. If you're a co-location operator, of course, what you are trying to do is win clients to take up your space within the data center. What you therefore don't know is which client you're going to win and what IT they're going to, what platform they're going to put into your data center. So for an operator, it's definitely more of a challenge to cater and have foresight on design and flexibility, because they don't know who they're going to win. Saying that, 80% of colo take up is with hyperscale cloud providers, and I believe and I hear that the operators are striving and doing a very good job at being more collaborative with the hyperscale providers, so they get some insight into the sort of IT demands that they're going to have now and in a year, let's say, so they can start to design in a little bit of this. But you're right, Phil. Otherwise, an operator does need to have some sort of flexibility in mind, because 20% of the market is still enterprise. The co-location market is still enterprise, and for sure, enterprise, you don't know what they're going to bring into your data center. So it's got to be quite vanilla, but in the background, they have to be able to tweak it here, tweak it there to be able to accommodate for whether that's different types of IT in terms of its footprint or its power usage, its density, its fiber demand, because as we have more data, we're going to have more fiber, more connectivity, bigger cable and construction going in the data center. So yeah, they need to be able to have this in mind for sure.
And I'm also thinking, because I mean, crudely speaking, whether it's the hyperscaler, colo, whatever, they build a large facility and then fit it out as demand dictates. Yeah. But the edge is a growing idea, and I'm guessing no one's going to build a load of edge data centers, whatever those might look for, just on the off chance that someone's going to come along. But the edge is getting rolled out. So I suppose what I'm trying to say is, one way you build it and people will come, if you like that cliche. The other way around, you've got to build it as people demand it. Is there a challenge, I guess, in keeping up with this edge demand when 5G, if that's what the catalyst is, suddenly hits the market, or no panic at all with that, I guess?
So edge is a sort of a different discussion. We discussed this in last week. I think an operator there are a few types of co-location operators. There are some people in the market who just target wholesale hyperscale cloud providers. When you do that, it can be a little bit more predictable, and most of the builds are pre-let. So it's not really build and they will come. You're almost building for a specific demand. Now, there's a lot of that happening, typically in chunks of 9 megawatts, 18 or 27 megawatts. We're seeing single let single let projects at over 20 megawatts, which we didn't used to see before. So, but when it talks about edge, I think it's a different discussion. Who's going to deploy the edge, Phil? When you say who's going to build it out and hope they will come, well, what building out what? Is that the physical infrastructure of an edge, or are you building out the compute part of an edge? So you're having multiple edge data centers, let's say distributed around the UK, for example. Are these just data centers and waiting for someone to come and bring in compute for a service, or is this an integrated edge provider who is putting the compute and the networking and the software and the applications and the hypervisors and so on inside that edge, and then selling a service, and then taking time to sell that service. So it's a tricky one. Edge we've talked about edge for a number of years, or recent years at least anyway. We are all probably waiting for that killer app, or certainly the company that takes that leap and that investment to go and roll out an edge compute service offer for a specific application that really kicks off this edge discussion. In the meantime, we have smaller, fewer, let's say, number of edge applications that are being rolled out into the field, but it's typically based on a specific demand there and then. So it's supply, demand at the same time.
Yeah, and in terms of maybe some of the actual sort of technologies, the different requirements of data centers, I mean, you alluded to high densities, they seem to be going on and up. I mean, another high rise, I've heard people are suggesting they're going to be built sort of multi-story data centers, which I guess has certain engineering challenges attached to it. Hybrid workloads, so you might need liquid cooling for some of your racks and not for others. Without going into too much detail, what do you see in terms of these sort of changing demands? Are they going to be constantly demanding flexibility, or is there a pattern emerging, I suppose, as to what's going on?
I mean, good thing about data centers is they're always evolving, they're always innovating. Again, depends if you're, well, actually, whether you're a hyperscale building your own or whether you're an operator, colo operator, if you're an operator, you have to stay ahead of the game. You have to stay competitive. If you're a hyperscaler, you need to be as optimized and as efficient as possible, because the scale you're building out at and the cost, you just have to do that, and that lends itself to sustainability, that lends itself to efficiency, regulations, and so on. But one thing for sure, the hyperscale is where GDP or cloud demand is where the GDP is, the big metropolitan cities. The problem with demand in those areas is trying to build a data center there, finding the land, finding the power, finding the connectivity. This isn't Las Vegas or even Northern Virginia, where there's lots of land and you can spread out with single story data centers. You're trying to build in London, Frankfurt, Hong Kong, Singapore. For sure, multi-story data centers is what a lot of people are doing. It does have its challenges. The physical infrastructure, the M&E, the generator sets, the chillers, and all the external plant needs to be housed and located somewhere. When you have 6-story, 8-story data centers, it's a challenge, and you can utilize the roof, you can have gantries coming out of the side, so it's a challenge. But we have to do what we can do based on availability of land in these cities. But some data center parks are moving out. In London, they're moving out to Slough. We know there's a bit more space, and you can have a single or dual story data centers. But if you're in the city, people are looking at multi-story. It comes with its design challenges, of course.
Okay, so I mean, bearing in mind the conversation we've had to date, it would appear that sort of modular data centers, which I know is nothing new, but they're all growing in importance. And I guess even sort of prefabricated, so delivering to site, a more ready-made or larger parts of the data center, putting it together. Is that the way forward, almost exclusively, to give people that flexibility to build where and when they need?
I mean, is it the way forward indefinitely? I think it is certainly a design philosophy that has been trending for some years now, and we have seen a spike in this year, during the year of pandemic. When I say we've seen a spike, what I mean is an increase in discussions with our customers, number one, around how can we design data centers differently, leveraging prefabrication, pre-assembly, because a couple of things that addresses, not only, again, when we talk about the topic of of pandemic and just overall demand. When you talk about the pandemic, we need social distancing, fewer people on site. When we talk about demand, there's a skills shortage. So when we're building these data centers and 100, 200, 300 megawatts in each country, there's a skills shortage. So we can't get so many people to site to manufacture or construct the data center, should I say. So taking the construction, an element of the construction off-site into a manufacturing facility certainly supports or addresses a couple of those issues around those 2 points. But the other major trend with all of this demand is speed. Speed in the market is absolutely paramount. Cloud providers need speed to keep up with their demand and be the leader of the pack. Colo operators need speed to remain or to be one of the most competitive when they're bidding for hyperscale business. If you can take some of that manufacturing on-site to off-site, if you can standardize and industrialize your design with a prefabricated solution, whether that's a white space or whether that's the powertrain, whatever it might be, you can be quicker with your deployments. You can have more predictability, you can schedule manufacturing slots. And I think because of the nature of this tricky year, we have had more discussions around that with our customers. Not only have we had more discussions, our business has been stronger in this area too. So to answer your question, I think absolutely. It is certainly a design philosophy that a lot of people are looking at, and a lot of people are going to start moving forward with this as part of their data center strategy.